I thought nothing of it. I mean, okay, they got an Intrepid card here for whatever reason, and then they're like, yeah, we're with Intrepid now. Oh, news to me. That'd have been nice to know. Like, and I felt really bad because, like, I didn't, what do you do then? Do you call the guys at TB? Hey, thank you for everything, but I didn't know. It was kind of a weird deal, but long story short, we started running with Intrepid, and it was another great experience working with Mirko Scrizzoni. A legend in the karting world of designers, and it was just another cool experience to run with him, and then the team that was fun or running the program, because at that time Intrepid didn't have a factory team. It was Gianfranco Fantuzzi, who was actually at one time the team manager of Toyota F1, and at that time was still helping manage Toro Rosso Formula One. So this was a guy who had over 20 years of Formula One experience that just was really passionate about go-karting and wanted to do a karting team. And he was hooked up with Intrepid and basically ran, Modena paid him to run me as the Modena factory driver under what was called G-Force Racing. And great experience actually from him. Gianfranco was one of those guys that, had a different approach, being that he worked in Formula One for so long. He just had different ideas and ways of running the team and ways of running a race team and going about a race weekend. Obviously the guy was a team manager for high-end Formula One teams, and he knew how to manage a team. And he definitely, I think, took, karting teams up to the next level, even though he's kind of an unknown name. Things that he was doing, everyone was kind of taking notice and, copying him, and he was kind of on the forefront of not necessarily tuning and engineering the karts, but just running a race team itself. So, excuse me, I had to take a drink of water there and I'm dry. Yeah, but yeah, it was a really cool experience. Unfortunately, the Intrepid deal and the Modena deal started going south. We did one race with Danilo Rossi. I hopped on Danilo Rossi's kart one race with the Modena engine, and that's when it's just all kind of started raveling apart in the sense of we did the one race with Danilo's kart, and it went well, but the engine, we kind of had some problems, and then we got back to the factory and they basically said, Gary, we don't have enough to pay you. You're more than welcome here to stay and work, but we don't know if we can pay you, but maybe we can do the World Championships. And then just thinking to myself, and I hadn't been paid for a couple months, and actually quite a few months at the start of the year. And it's we'll get you paid. And just sitting here, this is another thing that's kind of unraveling right before my eyes. And I saw that, Lammers had left Formula K and everything. And it probably wasn't the smartest idea to contact them, being if Lammers left. I'm thinking, kind of naively, he just left to go somewhere else. I can maybe get into that seat. So I called them and they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you. So I told Modena, sorry, I need to eat. So I need to go to a place that's going to pay me. And so they released me of my contract, and I went down to where the Formula K, and this is at the time Formula K was still its own identity, being, at the time IPK and Praga were producing the karts for them, but they were still their own company, had their own shop and everything else. And I got there, and when I first got there, I saw it, and it was a nice, clean, organized shop. And then I started to realize after 2-3 weeks working there that, these guys are in financial trouble too. And probably why these people all left is probably because they weren't getting paid either. But we did at least I got to do the World Championships. Didn't go too well. But it was, I was still racing. I was still there. I was kind of just doing whatever it took. It was tough. I mean, you're sitting there in a factory. Basically, all the owners weren't showing up during the day. I mean, you have debt collectors coming there, and just put yourself in my perspective. I had to move, get a new apartment. Everything is a little bit different when you're coming in a different culture and different country. I mean, now you got to figure out where, just little things. Figuring out where the laundromat is, figuring out what the store, figuring out where you can't park, and all these little things. I mean, it was just a little bit more difficult, being it's a totally different language, different culture, different this, that. I mean, I was there long enough where it wasn't hard, but it's just a little bit harder when you're by yourself in a different country, I would say. I mean, I just remember sometimes, like, when I found where I could wash my clothes and when I could finally get into a new routine, it was like more sense of accomplishment and I think then too, like, I didn't have a smartphone. I didn't have enough money for a smartphone then, or I had to have internet. So, I'm having to do everything kind of fly by old school, right? I mean, it's not like I'm here in the States. Oh, I need to find some place where I need to wash my clothes. I just type it in, look it up, and drive to it, right? I mean, I had to kind of search around, ask around, and people, and it's your second language, so a lot of people, you don't speak perfectly, they don't necessarily want to help you. So it was tough times, to be honest, really, really tough. Not being paid, not, working your tail off, and the results aren't really there, and you're struggling, and there's not really, given the chance, but not really, that easy chance. So it was always kind of hard. And I remember even sitting in the factory, because they're like, okay, we need to take inventory of everything, and I knew what that meant. Like, they're selling it, they're going to sell this place and get everything ready. And, and having debt collectors, hey, where's this guy, that guy, yelling in your face, oh, he owes me money, and now I'm going to come here and sue them and stuff. And you're just like, whoa, like, what am I doing with my life right now? Like, not even getting paid. I got some guy yelling at me in Italian, and I work here, but no, I don't really work here. It's like, dude, this is not cool, and like the race result. And then when you get your, like, what I would call the oasis, right, or your break was to go to the track, and then when you don't get to go to the track, or, you do go to these races and it doesn't go very well, it's just like, there's nothing really going good at that time, for a long time. So, when Formula K, after the World Championships, they decided, okay, they were going to sell off the company. And I got lucky in the sense of IPK decided to buy the branding and the rights to the Formula K name. And they needed someone that spoke really good English to go to the Rotax World Finals, and because Praga was there, supporting a class for the Rotax World Finals. They're one of the, manufacturers in sort of class, and they said, we'd like to use you to go to Portugal and use your services because you speak English. So I'm thinking, yeah, it'd be a cool experience. I'd been to the Rotax World Finals, but as a mechanic or a coach, through my years at OGP, like, yeah, it'd be cool to see you be on the manufacturer's side, I guess, see all the go-karts, help put them together. And it's definitely better being on the competitor side. I mean, the manufacturer side, you're literally there for 2 weeks. You're having to deal with, 150 go-karts, and, we have to build them and do all that stuff, set up tents and work with people. I mean, it's a massive amount of work for those manufacturers to do those races with, 70. I mean, you're literally going through 77 to 140 go-karts in a weekend. It's madness, to be honest, for the manufacturers. So, but that went really well, and I was really lucky that a couple of years before I had done some tire testing for Tom Kutcher, and he asked me how I would like to get paid for that, and I said, give me a couple of entries to the Super Nationals one year when I might need it. And we shook on it, and it was a good deal, and he owned up to our agreement. And I asked the guys from IPK at the time, I said, I got the free entry. I mean, just give me a chance. send a few carts down there. I can get. I spoke with IAME because they were with IAME, and my past relationship with IAME was still very good. And they they agreed to supply me with the KZ engines, and then called up my boy Rainey Pearson for the Sweet Tech for the engine and for the stock Honda, because I figured, I didn't know if I was actually, that whole year was always like, every time I lined up on the grid, it was like, is this going to be it? Is this going to be my last race kind of deal? So I figured, if it's going to be the last race, we'll give two shots at two classes, so why not, right? And so they agreed, and they sent two carts. So we flew from Portugal to Vegas, and I kind of had my storybook Super Nationals, winning the KZ class and getting second in the stock Honda class. And, I mean, with that race win, solidified my ride with IPK. And a lot of people would say, like, you were so excited and like screaming after the race in Super Nationals. And I think, a lot of people don't realize it wasn't because I won. It was all that hardship, before coming out, that release, that's what that was, finally, something good came of all the hard work, or just finally something good happened, after so many years of trying and not working out. It was not just winning the race that I was excited. It was just like, that not giving up feeling and proving that I could still do it and everything. And probably, like I said, just more having so many bad things happen. You have one good thing and a really big good thing, all the emotion comes out.
What my biggest takeaway from that event, I was at the scales when you came off, but on the other side of the fence, and you were very overwhelmed with emotion. But the most moving part for me about all of it was a number of your European comrades came over and they were giving you hugs, and just you don't see that a lot in racing, where it's your competitors are like that happy for you. It was actually really neat to see. I mean, most karters, they'll shake your hand, good job, but you were getting actual hugs from the guys you just beat on the track.
Yeah, I think a lot of that goes to, I had a lot of friends. I mean, I vividly remember.
I'm losing you there. You're too far from the phone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you sound like you're further away.
Oh, is that the same deal? Does it still sound far away?
That's a little better.
So, but I mean, during those years, we would always hang out. There was a lot of drivers that lived in the Desenzano, Lonato area, and we were always going out, on days that we had off, out on the boats together, partying together, hanging out. I mean, it was, when you get to that level of karting, everyone kind of knows how difficult it is. And to be, it's a lot like F1 in the sense, if you don't have the material, you don't have the right ride, we all know, like, the top 20 guys in KZ1, you put the 20th place driver in the winning go-kart of that year, he probably could have won. And there's that kind of that little bit of camaraderie, like when you make it to where you're getting paid to drive from the factory, that, everyone knows you're good. You don't have to prove it to anyone anymore. And we all know how hard it is to get in one of those positions. So, yeah, there is camaraderie in the sense of when you see someone that maybe doesn't always have the right ride, or always has bad luck, and like when you race against him, that guy's just as good as you, maybe even better than you, but he just never gets that chance. And I think that was my moment, where those guys, they'd raced with me, many times over the years and knew the potential, or knew my level of driving, and for finally it to come good that weekend, they were all happy for me. And it goes for everyone else when everyone else had a good race, either, wherever it may have been. There was always that camaraderie, and we'd always, go back home to Desenzano and have a drink and talk a little bit about it and then talk about something else because we,